I don't know how much more of this I can get in before the rain begins. It's a gray, cloudy day that feels like early spring in New York or San Francisco. But here we are in Todos Santos, and our winter has come to an end. The birds are back and singing. Everything is beginning to bud and flower. It's really quite beautiful. So here I am again back in the old cemetery, apparently for another graveside chat, as my friend John Troy called it. At the end of the last week's chat by the graves in the old cemetery in Todos Santos, I said that if there was sufficient interest, I would do this again. I was just amazed by the amount of interest there was. I suddenly have scads of new subscribers to my YouTube channel. The channel just went along for the years that I've maintained it, and then it began to grow a bit, but suddenly it's just shot up. This has happened in the last few weeks, and I don't know how to account for it. In any case, I received these expressions of approval, and most of them said that hearing me alleviated some stress or some self-doubt or something that they had been struggling with. And whatever it is, the words or just the entire situation, I guess, is influential. It's beginning to rain now. I don't think I'm going to get this question in unless I move somewhere else. Okay. The camera will be fine now. And I'm protected here under this tree if I want to do this standing, which I will for a while. Anyway, there were excellent and encouraging comments from many sides, and only one or two detractors. None on the YouTube channel comments, but Joan Tollefson praised the talk and put it on her Facebook page, and many people liked it, but she seems to have always a few of these kind of fools who imagine that there's something wrong with self-expression, and because it makes them feel uncomfortable, I have no right to talk that way. It's amazing. This is a level of entitlement and narcissism that's really deep. So in the comments on the YouTube channel, I received a comment from Chris Parkin, who's been a subscriber to that channel for a couple of years before it took off like this. And so he's been following my videos, I suppose. Anyway, I heard from him, and he says, "Hey, Robert, if I am hearing you correctly, we have to be able in some way to stop trying to escape, and that happened for you." The explanation for this is it's not just, as I think it was Thomas Huxley said, the universe is not just queerer than we believe, but it's queerer than we can believe. And this is my point. If you want to understand what I mean by awake, all of that has to go. And what you will be left with is just pure seeing or pure race car driving, but in your ordinary hours. And this is what those of us who use that word in this special way mean by it. That when you're in the supermarket, you're in the supermarket. You see other people. You're not lost in some fantasy of elsewhere. How does that happen? It happens when you see that those fantasies are rooted in escapism, and you feel, I don't really want to participate in that. I want to be here and now. Now, how you arrange that wanting is beyond me. I don't think you can. But then you said about how to arrange that wanting to stop trying to escape. And you said, I don't think we can. So it sounds like this is some kind of grace, as some people call it. But if it doesn't happen, we are just stuck in the loop of trying to escape. Please respond. So the question is, I had been saying that it was necessary to somehow want to not self-deceive, and then all of these chains of spirituality and religion will just fall away. You'll understand that you're here now, and that's all you know, and that's all that anybody knows about any of this. So the idea of grace, I don't like that word because it has the feeling of divine grace. Tacitly, we see the word divine when we see the word grace. We can't help it. So I wouldn't use that word. I like the word luck, because when Chris asked me, well, first of all, yes, I am free of this kind of thing that we're talking about. That's why I speak this way. It feels good to be free of spirituality and religion. It's not a loss. It's a tremendous gain of oneself when you understand that nobody has answers to anything important. We all have our points of view. We have our lives that were deeply programmed by everything that's ever happened to us. So this gets to the point of choice and free will and destiny and all of these big topics that religion and spirituality claim to be able to explain, but cannot, in my view. So if you can adopt the attitudes of the culture, it may be possible for you to unadapt from some of that. I can't say it isn't. I don't know. But I don't have any practice that I know of that will unattach you. Some people say it's meditation, and I don't really argue with that because I find myself in a meditative posture at a moment's notice. It's not a problem. That's there. That's there. It's not a problem. It's not a practice. You see, this is thoughtless. Not that there are not thoughts being expressed, but these aren't things I've thought out. That's the point. You think about them, and then you realize that there are no answers to the kinds of questions that Chris is asking. What he asked is just about the best question you could ask someone like me, so I appreciate it, Chris. But the point that I'm making is it's not one size fits all. Whatever works for Robert works for Robert. If you tried that on, it might not do anything at all for you. The one to find is the one that will do something for you. And although this is a cliche, that is within. I mean that metaphorically. I don't think it really has any space. We don't know what any of this is. We don't. And that's the point I made in the last video, I think pretty well, that people appreciated. That those who know have stopped short. their growth has stopped right there. Because growth only happens in the vital present. Creativity only happens in the vital present, in the living present. And what's required in the living present is to be free of all dogma, all of it. You don't know anything about God, not the first thing, nothing. It's all imparted, superstitious nonsense. And you really know it, but you have your fingers crossed behind your back on not knowing, because what if there really is a God and now I've dissed him? I may end up in hell, or some version of that. And naturally, that's what we have to get beyond, Chris. But I was saying I don't know how to do that. I know that it happened for me. And for a long time, I did not talk about that. And Robert Hall came to town. He was a well-schooled Buddhist scholar and teacher. I'd never met anyone who had that much knowledge about Buddhism before. I was interested, so the two of us would meet once a week or so and discuss these matters. And at a certain point, and Robert had a Sunday morning group, Sangha, where he would give a talk, and they would meditate first silently as a group, and then he would give a talk, and then they would have another time of meditation, and everyone would depart. And he asked me to take part in those, and I said, no, I don't really want to, Robert. I like what you and I are doing alone, you know. It's important to me. Your friendship means a lot to me. I'm learning so much. So he kept trying to get me involved, and eventually he did. It was very tricky. I won't go into that story, but I ended up being a spiritual teacher, you know, with that designation. Not that I called myself that, but that's what people were coming to me for. I had been doing psychotherapy for years, and this was a different approach. This was something else that these people wanted, and what they wanted was spirituality. And it took me about 18 months to realize that I don't have anything along those lines to give anybody. Nothing. I know nothing about any of this. I'm standing here. I'm just an ordinary human primate animal. There are birds singing. There's music and hammering and chainsaws in the background, and I'm here in the old cemetery speaking to you. I know that I will get the same pushback on what I'm saying from the people who are clinging to religion and have trouble cohering personally, let's put it. So they're threatened because I'm saying these things. But I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just giving my opinion. So Joan and I were talking yesterday about how the left wing of politics has now become terribly corrupted. I'm speaking for myself, but I think Joan and I came to an agreement on this, but I'll leave that to her to comment. My part of it, my view of it, is that the left is now on this tremendous power trip, and their power comes from claiming the moral high ground. So suddenly, the way that I see it is enforceable by canceling you, complaining to all the boards and regulatory bodies about your work as a psychotherapist or whatever it is, licensing boards. That's what's happening to Jordan Peterson now. He's being harassed, not for things that he's done. What's being alleged here is nonsense, that this person's views damage others, you know, whatever expression of the views damage others, and they want to control that. It's madness. Yes, I find it's madness. So you don't want to fall into that kind of zealotry in regards to coming to your center, coming to your own understanding. It's not something that you accomplish by force. So if there's a wanting, Chris, that wanting it's ephemeral. If it's there, that's the time to imbibe it. Strike while the iron is hot. In other words, I'm just encouraging you to recognize that there is already total freedom, psychological freedom, as part of your setup. It's just not there all the time. But when it is, if you accustom yourself to it, I find, this is just for me, I found it's like connect the dots. You put each moment of, I don't want to put a word on it. You see, that's the problem. When someone says surrender, then suddenly there's something you have to do. You have to surrender. No, that's not possible. Where would that volition come from? Where? That's the question. One has to find that if it exists at all. I don't even like the word within, but it's the best way I can put it. You have to find your own mind. In that mind, this understanding already exists, I am saying. It's naked awareness. We all have it. We had it as babies. I know that. I've been with babies. It's there. So it's not a question of some practice through which you create that, or even that there's something you can do to make it happen. I don't think there really is, except knowing that there is such a thing. That's what I'm manifesting by talking this way. I understand that some people don't like it. But as I said last week, if I get some positive feedback on this, then I'll do it again. And here I am doing it again. So what I'm saying is to completely erase that side of oneself that we imagine has any spiritual knowledge at all about anything. Non-dual duality has nothing to do with this. You don't know anything about that, and no one else does either. If you define non-duality as Joan defines it, okay. What she means by that is just this, whatever you perceive presently. Okay, that's good. But if it goes beyond that to where this is some kind of perfected state, no, it isn't. It's one point of view, and there are many other points of view that are equally valid. Equally valid. Or because why are they equally valid? Because epistemologically, meaning our ways of knowing about this, our ways of knowing about this are limited. The epistemology can't find the facts of the matter. There's only belief. And I'm saying that I don't want belief. I want to be free of belief, Chris, and that is where the wanting is. I just feel that way. And once I located, this is what I'm saying, once that place in me became apparent, that's when, if there's any doing, and I'm not saying there is, but if there is, that's the place to apply it. Strike while the iron is hot. It's like connect the dots, I was saying. Each moment of coming to this, I will not attempt to define it, but you know what we're talking about, because you said you saw it in me, and you're right. My detractors will now say that's narcissistic. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. This isn't some great achievement. This is your birthright as a human being. This is our birthright, to be here now and live our lives fully embodied as an animal, sexual presence on planet Earth. Anything that interferes with that cannot be truth. And nobody knows what truth is. We just don't. But we're just getting a very light rain, and under this palm tree, I'm not feeling it. So thanks for listening. If any of this made sense, I'd be glad to hear your comments. If you didn't like it, that's fine, but there's no reason to hurl invectives. I mean, say what you don't like about it, not what you don't like about me, and then we'll be fine. I'm totally open to that. But when it gets personal, then you're just an idiot, and I won't listen to it. You've got to get your house in order before you come on to other people like that. So back in the studio, I hope you enjoyed the second graveside chat. I just want to remind everyone that you can subscribe to the channel, and you can check the links in the description for various ways of interacting with my work. Appreciate hearing from everyone. I will be taking questions like I did today and addressing them in this format. So if you have any of those, you can post them as comments to this video, or come to the Depending on No Thing Facebook group and get involved in the conversation there. Thanks everyone, and be well. Sayonara.